Ladies and gentlemen, in the journey of human communication, there has been a dramatic shift. From the early days of face-to-face interaction to the rise of written words and, later, landlines, we've now entered an era defined by mobile phones. Today we carry with us the world's connection in our pockets, at our fingertips, yet we must ask, what impact does this constant connectivity have on our conversations? Human communication has always been a cornerstone of society, allowing people to connect, share ideas, and form relationships. The ways in which we communicate have evolved dramatically throughout history, and each shift has had profound effects on the way we interact with one another. In the earliest days of human existence, communication was a face-to-face activity, driven by the necessity to share essential information about survival. Whether it was a hunter gathering food, a group of people forming alliances, or families passing down knowledge from generation to generation, the spoken word was not just a tool for communication, but an essential means of conveying emotions, ideas, and traditions. As societies grew more complex, the methods of communication expanded. The invention of writing marked a significant turning point. People could now record information and send messages across greater distances. Letters became the medium through which important communication, both personal and official, was conducted. Written correspondence allowed individuals to share news, express thoughts, and maintain relationships over long distances. This shift opened up new possibilities for communication, as people no longer needed to be in the same physical space to exchange ideas. However, writing still required time, effort, and materials, and its limitations were clear. A letter could take days, weeks, or even months to arrive, and in an increasingly interconnected world, this was a slow and cumbersome process. The next major leap in communication came with the advent of the telegraph, and later, the telephone. These devices revolutionized communication by enabling real-time conversation over long distances. The telephone in particular became a game changer, as it allowed people to speak to each other instantly, bridging geographical divides that were once insurmountable. For the first time, the tone of voice, emotions, and nuances could be conveyed in a way that was much closer to face-to-face interaction. The telephone was a breakthrough, but even then, its reach was limited by physical infrastructure. Landlines had to be connected through a series of cables, and long-distance calls could be expensive or difficult to make, especially for those in rural areas. As technology continued to evolve, so did the way we communicated. The rise of mobile phones in the late 20th century represented another pivotal moment in the evolution of communication. Suddenly, people could carry their communication tools in their pockets, able to make calls and send messages virtually anywhere. The mobile phone had the ability to connect individuals across cities, countries, and continents with unprecedented speed and convenience. For the first time, communication became truly mobile, allowing us to talk to anyone at any time, regardless of where we were. The mobile phone wasn't just a communication tool, it became a lifeline, a source of entertainment, and a device for managing our daily lives. However, the transformation didn't stop there. As mobile phones evolved, they began to incorporate a range of features that went beyond simple voice calls and text messages. The advent of smartphones combined the power of mobile communication with the capabilities of personal computers. Now people could email, video chat, browse the internet, and access a multitude of social media platforms, all from the palm of their hand. These changes accelerated the pace of communication, making it more instantaneous and pervasive than ever before. Through apps and messaging services, we can share our lives with others in real time, whether by sending a quick text, posting a picture on social media, or having a video chat with someone halfway across the world. Phones have had a profound impact on the way we connect with others, changing the fabric of our social and professional lives in ways that were once unimaginable. Before the advent of phones, people could only communicate over long distances by relying on written correspondence, which often took days, weeks, or even longer to reach its destination. This meant that communication was slow, and people's ability to stay in touch with loved ones or conduct business outside their immediate vicinity was extremely limited. The introduction of phones, however, revolutionized how we interacted with the world. With the invention of the telephone, the world shrank in terms of connectivity. Suddenly, instead of waiting for days for a letter to arrive, individuals could speak to each other instantaneously, regardless of their location. This ability to connect across vast distances brought people closer together in a way that was previously unthinkable Whether it was families separated by oceans, businesses conducting transactions across continents, or friends trying to stay in touch, phones made communication faster, more reliable, and more immediate. As much as phones have revolutionized communication, making it easier and more efficient to stay connected across distances, they have also brought about significant disruptions in our in-person conversations. What once was a simple, uninterrupted exchange of ideas, thoughts, and emotions has now become increasingly fragmented as phones introduce distractions that can disrupt the flow of communication. In many ways, this constant connectivity, though beneficial, has changed the dynamics of face-to-face interaction, leading to a shift in how we engage with one another in real-time conversations. One of the most noticeable impacts of phones on in-person interactions is the constant urge to check them during conversations. It's no longer uncommon to be in a meeting, having a coffee with a friend, or enjoying a dinner with family, only to notice someone checking their phone every few minutes. Whether it's to read a new notification, respond to a message, or check an email, the act of looking at one's phone during a conversation signals a shift in focus away from the person or topic at hand. This creates a feeling of disengagement, both for the person checking their phone and for the individual trying to hold a conversation. When attention is divided in this way, it becomes difficult to maintain the flow of dialogue, and meaningful connection is lost. And what was once a focused exchange of ideas becomes a series of fragmented interactions, where neither party feels fully present. Even more disruptive than checking phones during conversations is the way phones can actually interrupt moments of connection. In many situations, the ringing or buzzing of a phone can completely derail the flow of an in-person conversation. A phone call or an unexpected notification can pull one or both people out of the moment, breaking the sense of presence that is essential to a meaningful conversation. This type of interruption can have a noticeable emotional impact too. When a phone buzzes or rings in the middle of a personal conversation, it often signals to both parties that something or someone else is more important, leading to feelings of frustration, irritation, or even rejection. In the context of close relationships, this can erode trust and cause emotional distance, as the recipient of the distraction may feel as though they are not valued or prioritized. Phones can also introduce a sense of anxiety or anticipation that further disrupts conversations. With constant notifications from social media, emails, and text messages, the desire to stay up to date or to not miss out on information can create a sense of urgency. People may feel compelled to respond to a message right away, even when they are engaged in a conversation with someone else. This need for immediate response can lead to a disjointed experience in which neither person is truly able to focus on the moment or connect on a deeper level. Instead of being able to have a free-flowing conversation, individuals may find themselves distracted by the fear of missing something important on their phone, thus undermining the quality of the interaction. In many cases, the use of phones during face-to-face interactions has also led to a shift in social behavior. We have become so accustomed to checking our phones that we have internalized it as a habit, even in situations where it is socially inappropriate. People will often check their devices without even thinking, while others may feel the pressure to do the same in order to avoid seeming out of touch or disconnected. This behavior has resulted in a cultural shift where it's now common to see people engaging with their phones during social events, family gatherings, or even formal meetings. The consequence of this is that the norms of social engagement have changed. We've come to accept that it's normal to split attention between a conversation and our devices. Yet in doing so, we are sacrificing the essence of human connection, the ability to be fully present with one another without distractions. There is also an underlying sense of detachment that phones can create. While they offer instantaneous access to people and information, this very immediacy often comes at the expense of more meaningful, deep connections. In the past, people would engage in prolonged conversations that allowed them to get to know each other better, sharing stories, asking questions, and truly listening to each other. Now, conversations can feel rushed or shallow, with people constantly looking for the next notification or being distracted by the content of their phones. The depth of connection suffers because attention is divided between the person in front of us and the virtual world we are accessing through our screens. Furthermore, phones have the potential to create a sense of isolation, even when we are surrounded by others. It's not uncommon to see groups of people sitting together, all engrossed in their devices, with little to no interaction happening between them. In this way, phones can create physical proximity but emotional distance. People might be in the same room, but their attention is so focused on their phones that the opportunity for real human connection is lost. While phones offer incredible benefits in terms of staying connected with the world at large, they also come with the downside of disrupting real-time, in-person communication. The distractions they introduce, whether through checking messages, answering calls, or responding to notifications, pull our attention away from the people we are physically with, leading to a fragmented experience of conversation. What results is a subtle but significant shift in how we relate to each other, often leaving us with less meaningful, less engaging exchanges than we once enjoyed. The challenge lies in finding a balance where we can use technology to enhance our connections without allowing it to detract from the quality of our impersonal relationships. The rise of texting and social media has undoubtedly transformed the way we communicate, providing us with more ways to connect than ever before. However, with this evolution, there has also been a noticeable shift in the nature of our conversations. In the past, conversations, whether in person or over the phone, tended to be deeper, more meaningful exchanges, where individuals had the time to truly listen, engage, and connect. Today, however, many of our interactions have become increasingly transactional, focused on convenience rather than on fostering intimacy or understanding. This shift has created a paradox where we are more connected than ever before, yet the quality of our communication often suffers. Text messaging in particular has played a key role in this shift. The convenience of texting allows us to communicate quickly and efficiently, sending short, succinct messages that can be read and responded to at any time. However, the brevity of these interactions often sacrifices the richness that can come from a more extended conversation. Texts tend to be less nuanced than phone calls or in-person exchanges, and they lack the emotional depth that can be conveyed through tone of voice, body language, or facial expressions. A quick text exchange, while efficient, often results in a more superficial form of communication, where words are stripped down to their most basic form, leaving behind the subtleties that make conversations feel personal and meaningful. Social media platforms have further intensified this shift toward more superficial interactions. With the rise of platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, the focus has moved away from meaningful dialogue to quick exchanges of likes, comments, and status updates. These platforms allow people to share snippets of their lives, but often in a way that is curated, simplified, and sometimes disconnected from reality. Instead of delving into the complexities of life or engaging in thoughtful discussions, many interactions on social media revolve around sharing highlights, making quick comments, or following trends. Social media has become a space where people present their best selves, but not necessarily their truest selves. This type of communication often lacks depth because it is designed to be quick and visually appealing rather than reflective or personal. The emphasis on efficiency has also led to a reduction in the time spent on more profound conversations. In the past, people could spend hours talking with a friend or family member, discussing everything from personal experiences to philosophical questions. Now, the pressure to respond quickly, coupled with the distraction of constant notifications, has made it difficult for many to engage in conversations that require deeper thought or emotional vulnerability. In many cases, the expectation of immediate responses has replaced the patience required for more thoughtful, reflective exchanges. People are more likely to send short, rushed messages than to sit down and have a lengthy conversation that explores feelings, thoughts, or ideas in depth. This shift toward more transactional communication can be seen in the workplace as well. In professional settings, emails and text messages have replaced face-to-face meetings, leading to more efficient communication, but often sacrificing the emotional connection that can arise from personal interactions. Meetings and conversations that once allowed for the exchange of ideas, brainstorming, or problem solving in a collaborative setting now often take place over impersonal digital platforms. While these digital tools offer convenience, they can make it harder to build relationships and create a sense of camaraderie as they remove the nonverbal cues and the human element of communication. The focus on efficiency rather than intimacy can also affect personal relationships. Couples, friends, and family members are often guilty of engaging in brief exchanges rather than sitting down for a heartfelt conversation. The busyness of modern life, coupled with the constant access to digital devices, can lead people to communicate in short bursts, checking in with one another through text messages or social media posts, but never taking the time to truly connect on a deeper level. This has led to a sense of distance, where people may be surrounded by their loved ones, but still feel emotionally disconnected. In these relationships, the convenience of texting may provide a means of staying in touch, but it can also make it difficult to nurture the kind of emotional closeness that comes from having real, uninterrupted conversations. The prioritization of convenience over intimacy is also evident in how people interact with strangers or acquaintances. Instead of engaging in meaningful conversations with people we meet, whether in professional settings, social gatherings, or casual encounters, many of us now resort to short, surface-level exchanges. These interactions may involve polite greetings, small talk, or sharing trivial information, but they rarely delve into anything substantial. The rise of texting and social media has made it easier to avoid more personal, vulnerable conversations by giving us an escape into more neutral, less emotionally demanding exchanges. Ultimately, the shift from deep conversations to more superficial interactions represents a trade-off between speed and emotional connection. While texting and social media allow us to communicate more efficiently and stay in constant contact with others, they also make it harder to foster the intimacy, understanding, and empathy that come from longer, more meaningful dialogues. As a result, we may be communicating more than ever before, but the depth of that communication has often been lost in favor of convenience. The challenge lies in finding a balance, using technology to enhance rather than replace the depth of human connection. In doing so, we can ensure that our relationships remain meaningful, not just transactional. Social media platforms have become an integral part of modern communication, offering us the ability to connect with others instantly, regardless of time or distance. Most of us access these platforms through our phones, which has further streamlined our ability to stay connected. While social media has undoubtedly made communication more accessible and efficient, it has also had a profound effect on how we express ourselves, share information, and connect with others. What was once a face-to-face exchange of ideas has shifted to digital interactions, and with this shift, a number of complexities have arisen. Chief among them being miscommunication and the emergence of more surface-level, less emotionally rich exchanges. One of the most notable effects of social media is the reduction of communication to brief, often impersonal exchanges. Social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are designed for quick sharing, whether it's posting a status update, sharing a photo, or commenting on a friend's post. The design of these platforms encourages users to engage with minimal effort and in short bursts. In many ways, this shift to bite-sized communication has led to a shift in the quality of interactions. Instead of spending hours having a deep conversation with a friend or family member, we now find ourselves sending a few short messages or liking a post to show support. These quick engagements are convenient, but they often lack the depth, emotional nuance, and personal connection that typically characterize face-to-face conversations. The result is a network of interactions that are often transactional and superficial, offering little more than a fleeting acknowledgement of someone's presence or a quick opinion shared without much thought. Another challenge that social media presents is the frequent miscommunication that arises from the absence of nonverbal cues. In face-to-face conversations, we rely on body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and other contextual elements to interpret the meaning behind someone's words. These nonverbal cues help us gauge a person's emotions, intentions, and level of engagement. On social media, however, much of this is stripped away. When we communicate through text alone, it's easy for messages to be misinterpreted, as tone and intent can easily be lost in the process. What may have been meant as a joke can be read as an insult, or a straightforward statement can come across as passive-aggressive. These misunderstandings can lead to conflict or emotional distance, as people often find it more difficult to clarify their meaning in a virtual environment. Moreover, the immediacy of social media communication, the constant need to respond quickly, further exacerbates the likelihood of miscommunication. When we feel the pressure to reply fast, we may be less thoughtful in our responses, which increases the chances of saying something we don't mean or misrepresenting our feelings. Social media also encourages a culture of comparison, where people present idealized versions of their lives, leading to distorted perceptions of reality. This tendency to showcase only the highlights of one's life whether through curated posts, perfectly edited photos, or filtered updates, creates an environment where superficiality often prevails. Instead of engaging in authentic, vulnerable conversations, many users resort to posting a version of their lives that is polished and disconnected from the reality of their experiences. This creates a space where people may feel they have to live up to unrealistic expectations, both in terms of how they present themselves and how they engage with others. As a result, deeper emotional connections become more challenging, as social media interactions are often focused on appearance, status, and social approval, rather than on meaningful, empathetic exchanges. The constant stream of content on social media also contributes to the erosion of the quality of our communication. With the sheer volume of information that flows through these platforms every day, it can be difficult to keep up. And the act of engaging in conversations can feel like a distraction rather than a priority. We are bombarded with notifications, posts, messages, and advertisements, which can lead to a sense of overwhelm. As we scroll through feeds or check our phones, we often engage with content passively, glancing at a post for a few seconds before moving on to the next. This shallow engagement reduces the time and energy we spend on truly connecting with others, and as a result, many of our interactions become more about staying current or maintaining appearances rather than fostering genuine relationships. Furthermore, the anonymity and distance that social media provides can lead to more superficial or even negative forms of communication. People may feel emboldened to say things online that they wouldn't dare say to someone's face, leading to harmful behaviors like cyberbullying or trolling. The lack of immediate face-to-face consequences allows individuals to hide behind a screen, making it easier for them to engage in disrespectful or hurtful communication. This has created a culture where many interactions lack empathy, kindness, and consideration, further distancing us from the emotional connections we once formed in person. Social media has also fostered a shift in how we share personal information. In the past, sensitive topics or emotions were typically discussed in private settings with one or a few trusted individuals. Now, many people turn to their social media platforms to share personal milestones, struggles, or opinions with a wide audience. While this can create a sense of community and support, it also exposes people to the risk of judgment, criticism, or unsolicited advice from a much larger pool of people, many of whom may not have the depth of understanding or context needed to offer meaningful support. The psychological effects of phone use during conversations have become an increasingly important topic of discussion in recent years. While phones offer incredible convenience and connectivity, they also bring about unintended psychological consequences that can significantly impact our well-being, particularly when we use them in the context of personal interactions. One of the most significant psychological effects is the anxiety they can trigger. This anxiety can manifest in a variety of ways, including the phenomenon known as phantom vibrations, as well as a constant urge to check our phones, which ultimately detracts from our ability to engage meaningfully in face-to-face conversations. Phantom vibrations refer to the sensation of feeling a phone vibrate in one's pocket or bag, when in fact it is not vibrating at all. This odd sensation occurs when our brain, conditioned by constant phone notifications, interprets a stimulus as a phone alert, even if no alert has occurred. The experience is a direct result of the near constant exposure we have to our phones. It highlights how deeply ingrained our phones have become in our daily lives and the psychological toll of always being on call. The anticipation of a text, email, or social media notification becomes so habitual that our brains sometimes simulate the feeling of an incoming alert, even in the absence of one. This anxiety-inducing phenomenon is not only unsettling, but can also disrupt the flow of a conversation. The subconscious awareness that a phone might be vibrating leads us to become distracted, constantly checking for updates, even when we are physically present with others. This behavior further distances us from the real-time interaction and diminishes the quality of the connection. Along with the sensation of phantom vibrations, the overwhelming urge to check our phones constantly during conversations can lead to heightened anxiety. In a world of perpetual notifications and information overload, it becomes almost impossible to ignore the urge to engage with our devices devices. Whether it's a fear of missing out, FOMO, the need for constant validation, or simply the desire to stay connected with others, we are often compelled to check our phones, even in situations where it would be more respectful to stay engaged with the person in front of us. This constant phone checking can be mentally exhausting and contribute to feelings of unease or stress. The anxiety associated with checking our phones disrupts our ability to be fully present in a conversation, preventing us from being emotionally attuned to the other person and their needs. Phones also foster a sense of detachment, making it more difficult for us to stay mentally engaged in the conversation we're physically present in. This detachment occurs because our attention is split between the person we are talking to and the virtual world that our phone connects us to. While we may be physically present in a conversation, our minds are often elsewhere, absorbed by the notifications, messages, or thoughts that are triggered by our phones. This detachment is not just a minor inconvenience, but can have a profound impact on the depth and quality of communication. When we disengage mentally from a conversation, we lose the opportunity to truly connect with the other person. We may miss key details or emotional cues, leading to a breakdown in understanding and empathy. The person we are conversing with might feel neglected, dismissed, or unimportant if we seem more focused on our phones than on them. This lack of attentiveness can lead to feelings of isolation, frustration, and resentment, especially in close relationships where emotional connection is vital. Moreover, the detachment caused by phone use in conversations can contribute to a gradual erosion of our social skills. As we become more accustomed to multitasking and splitting our attention between the real world and the digital world, we may find it increasingly difficult to engage in deep, meaningful conversations without the interference of technology. The ability to focus on one conversation without distractions is a crucial social skill that enables us to build strong, healthy relationships. Phones, however, hinder this ability by creating a constant pull for our attention, making it harder to stay engaged in the moment. Over time, this can lead to social withdrawal, difficulty in maintaining long conversations, and a diminished capacity for empathy. Phones have undeniably revolutionized the way we communicate, and one of the most significant benefits is their role in enabling remote communication. The ability to stay connected with others, regardless of geographical barriers, has profoundly changed how we maintain relationships, collaborate in professional settings, and even provide support in healthcare. The power of phones to bridge distances has made the world feel smaller, allowing individuals to engage in meaningful exchanges, whether across cities, countries, or continents. One of the most notable ways that phones have enhanced remote communication is through their impact on long-distance relationships. In the past, being separated by long distances could strain relationships, often creating emotional gaps due to the inability to interact frequently. The advent of phones, particularly mobile phones, has eliminated many of these barriers, enabling couples, friends, and families to stay connected in ways that were once unimaginable. Whether through voice calls, text messages, or video chats, phones offer the tools to maintain consistent communication, keeping relationships strong despite the physical distance between people. For couples in long-distance relationships, phones become the lifeline that sustains their connection, providing a sense of presence and emotional support that helps bridge the gap until they can be physically together again. Video calling applications like Zoom, FaceTime, or WhatsApp allow couples to share moments in real time, making it feel as though they are in the same room, even when they are miles apart. Similarly, phones have played a crucial role in enabling remote business collaborations, particularly in a globalized economy where teams often work across different time zones and locations. The ability to hold virtual meetings, communicate instantly via messaging apps, or share files through cloud-based services has transformed the way businesses operate. What once required travel and face-to-face meetings can now be accomplished with just a few taps on a smartphone. This has led to increased productivity as teams can collaborate in real time without the logistical challenges and costs of in-person meetings. For many businesses, especially startups or companies with remote employees, phones have made it possible to build and sustain relationships with clients, partners, and colleagues across the globe. Whether it's holding a video conference to discuss a new project or sending a quick text to check in on a task, mobile phones have become the backbone of remote work, allowing businesses to thrive even when their teams are scattered around the world. In addition to business and personal relationships, phones have had a transformative effect on healthcare and support systems. Telemedicine has become increasingly common, especially in recent years, allowing patients to consult with healthcare providers remotely. This has been particularly valuable for individuals in rural or underserved areas where access to in-person medical care may be limited. Through phones, patients can connect with doctors, therapists, and specialists, receiving advice, prescriptions, or follow-up care without needing to travel long distances. This not only saves time and money, but also improves access to healthcare services for people who might otherwise have difficulty obtaining them. In emergency situations, phones allow individuals to quickly reach emergency responders, providing a critical link between people in distress and the help they need. Phones also play a key role in providing social support and fostering a sense of community, particularly for individuals who may feel isolated or alone. For elderly individuals or those with disabilities, regular phone calls can provide both practical support and emotional reassurance. Family members, caregivers, and support groups can use phones to stay connected with vulnerable individuals, offering assistance, checking on their well-being, or simply offering a comforting conversation. The phone acts as a tool that connects people with the broader world, reducing feelings of loneliness and providing a sense of security. In some cases, social service organizations use phones to offer counseling or provide mental health support, making these services more accessible to individuals who may otherwise have difficulty seeking help. The advent of smartphones, with their additional functionalities like text messaging, video calling, and access to social media, has also expanded the ways in which people can stay connected. Through apps and platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, individuals can communicate instantaneously, not just with one person, but with groups of people. This connectivity helps people share important information, whether it's coordinating a family event, managing a team project, or offering real-time updates in times of crisis. For example, in disaster situations, phones can be used to relay critical information to large groups of people, helping them stay informed and make timely decisions. Similarly, for those experiencing a crisis or dealing with a mental health issue, the ability to reach out to friends, family, or even professional services via phone offers an immediate means of support. On a global scale, phones also facilitate cross-central communication, promoting the exchange of ideas and fostering understanding between people from different backgrounds. Language translation apps, such as Google Translate, have made it easier for individuals to communicate across language barriers, making it possible to have conversations, share information, and collaborate with people from diverse cultures. This has helped to break down some of the isolation that comes from language differences, enabling individuals to connect in ways that were not possible in the past. As we navigate the complexities of living in an increasingly digital world, it's crucial to reflect on how our relationship with technology, particularly phones, is shaping our interactions. Phones have undeniably transformed the way we communicate, bringing convenience, connection, and opportunities for growth. However, as we become more reliant on our devices, it's important to remember the value of real, face-to-face interactions. Moving forward, we must find a way to balance the benefits of technology with the essence of genuine human connection. The path forward lies in mindful communication, an intentional approach that ensures we remain present, connected, and engaged with those around us, even in a world filled with distractions. We live in a time where phones are an ever-present part of our daily lives. They are indispensable tools that help us navigate everything from professional tasks to personal relationships. Yet, the more we rely on our phones to communicate, the easier it becomes to lose sight of the deeper, more meaningful aspects of human interaction. When our attention is split between a phone screen and the person sitting right in front of us, we risk missing out on the richness of a conversation, the unspoken emotions, the nonverbal cues, and the sense of true presence that only in-person interactions can provide. To preserve the authenticity of our connections, we must make a conscious effort to balance phone use with time spent truly engaging with others. Mindful communication involves being aware of how we interact with technology and recognizing when it detracts from our ability to connect meaningfully with those around us. This means putting down our phones during important conversations, making eye contact, and actively listening without distraction. It's easy to fall into the habit of checking our phones constantly, whether it's out of habit, boredom, or a fear of missing out. But when we allow ourselves to be constantly distracted, we deny ourselves the opportunity to build deeper connections. Mindful communication invites us to pause and reflect on the importance of truly being present in our interactions. By focusing our attention on the person in front of us, we can foster stronger, more fulfilling relationships built on mutual understanding and empathy. One way to begin cultivating mindful communication is by setting boundaries around phone use. Establishing designated times to check emails or respond to texts can help prevent our phones from taking over our interactions. When we're engaged in conversation, it's important to prioritize that moment, to offer our full attention without the constant pull of digital notifications. This might mean leaving our phones in another room during a meal with family, turning off notifications during a meeting, or taking a break from social media when spending time with friends. By creating space for uninterrupted interaction, we not only demonstrate respect for the people we're with, but also protect the quality of our own emotional well-being. Being fully present in a conversation allows us to process emotions, engage in meaningful dialogue, and build stronger, more intimate connections. It's equally important to embrace the positive aspects of technology without allowing it to dominate our lives. Phones and digital communication can be powerful tools for staying connected, whether it's for remote work, keeping in touch with loved ones, or accessing information. But these tools should be used intentionally, with an awareness of their potential to disrupt meaningful connections. In a world that is increasingly digital, we must find ways to strike a balance, using phones to enhance our relationships rather than replacing face-to-face communication altogether. A text message can supplement a conversation, but it should never be a substitute for the genuine connection that occurs when we are fully present with someone. Another key aspect of mindful communication is recognizing the need for emotional boundaries. In an era of constant digital engagement, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of messages, notifications, and social media posts we encounter each day. While phones provide us with the ability to stay connected at all times, it's essential to acknowledge when it's time to disconnect. Giving ourselves permission to step away from our phones and take breaks from the constant stream of information is vital for maintaining our mental and emotional health. By managing our phone use and setting clear boundaries, we can ensure that technology remains a helpful tool rather than a source of stress or distraction. Furthermore, as we move forward, we must not forget the profound impact of in-person connections on our well-being. There is something irreplaceable about face-to-face communication. The warmth of a hug, the comfort of a shared smile, or the sense of connection that comes from hearing someone's voice in real time. In-person conversations allow us to communicate on a deeper level, fostering emotional bonds that are more difficult to achieve through text or email. These connections are essential for building trust, understanding, and empathy in our relationships. While phones can certainly support our efforts to stay connected, they should never replace the depth and richness of human interaction that comes from being present with others. As we embrace the future of communication, we have an opportunity to create a new balance, one that honors both the convenience of digital technology and the importance of real, in-person interactions. This balance requires mindfulness, intentionality, and a commitment to preserving the essence of genuine connection in an increasingly digital world. By taking the time to disconnect from our phones and engage with others on a deeper level, we can ensure that our relationships remain grounded in authenticity and mutual understanding. In conclusion, the impact of phones on our conversations is profound, presenting both significant opportunities and challenges. On one hand, they have revolutionized communication, allowing us to stay connected across vast distances, fostering relationships, enabling remote work, and enhancing access to critical services like healthcare. However, as we embrace the convenience and efficiency of digital communication, we must remain mindful of the consequences, distractions, superficial interactions, and emotional detachment that can erode the depth and quality of our connections. As we move forward, it is crucial to strike a balance between the benefits of technology and the timeless value of face-to-face interaction. We must cultivate mindful communication practices, setting boundaries around phone use and making a conscious effort to be fully present in our interactions. In doing so, we ensure that our relationships remain genuine and that we preserve the essence of meaningful connection in a digital world. Let us embrace the power of technology to enhance our lives, but never at the expense of the real human connections that truly matter. It's time for all of us to take charge of how we communicate and create a future where we are as connected in person as we are online. So as we continue to evolve with technology, let's not forget the simple yet profound power of being present in the moment, face to face, truly connecting with one another. Thank you.